on here from the US. So because it's the way it's situated on my screen, I will go to Mamta first. Mamta.
Thank you so much. Very good morning. Thanks for this opportunity. Lockdown has, I just would like to mention, and coming straight to the topic, before that, wish to say that lockdown has given me an opportunity, in fact, all of us an opportunity, because today we are not seeing that one part of the globe is melting and the other part is doing so well. We are all on the same common page. While we had this financial global meltdown about 12 years back in 2008, there was this disparity among nations that some was bleeding and some were well. But today, this global lockdown, if I may call it that way, has told us and given us an eye-opener that we really need to use our own repertoire of energy that we have within. The energy that a lot of times we derive from the outside world. I think everyone is teaching us that we need to derive that from within. Having said so, let me just mention what I do and what is the background that I belong to. I am India's first insolvency professional. When this IBC, that is the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code 2016, that is how it is called in India, came into vogue in December 2016, I was the national president of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India, and I became the first registered insolvency professional of the country. And just to tell you, to give you a background, that the first insolvency resolution also happened by my hands. A lot of litigations we saw in this insolvency law, and in this, because the subject that we have today is more so as to how in this lockdown period, we still get connected to our clients. What is it that we do to have a wide scale of operations, even in this closed down issue that the whole world is facing? Very briefly, I am trying to keep in connect with all my clients on the phone and over the email. I think every single day we are doing Zoom meetings to understand the issues being faced by the clients and hand-holding them as to what needs to be done in this situation. In our country, the Insolvency and the Bankruptcy Code by the government has seen that the threshold limit, which was very low, has been increased several times. To say it in Indian rupees, it has become, or maybe millions, to say it in millions, it's become 100 million now. So to figure, which was only 0.1 million, now it has become 100 million. So that's a big change that we are all going through. And secondly, the Indian government is also contemplating to suspend for a while the sections through which the IBC can be triggered by the financial creditors, the operational creditors, and the company itself. It is awaiting the Honorable President's nod, but our country may see that a big change coming in. If you ask me as an insolvency professional, I have also used the tactics is that I send a daily update to not only my clients, but also on the social media in the IBC space. That daily updates is, keeping me very live, because if I have to send updates, I have to read those news cuttings very thoroughly. And in our country, e-courts are also functioning, but of course, only urgent matters. So I try and follow as to how the e-courts are functioning and what are the kind of judgments that they are giving through those e-courts. So Monica, are you trying to say something?
No, not at all. I was just nodding along.
Okay, thank you. So we are just trying to keep ourselves live through these snippets. We've also started sending short snippets. With these judgments that we get from the courts are almost sometimes 600 pages, 100 pages, 200 pages. I've seen that professionals, for that matter, even the industrialists who are deeply affected, are never able to get hands-on to such long judgments. So in this lockdown period, I am trying to, hold a series 1, series 2, where I'm trying to, create snippets out of those judgments. I'm trying to have the best out of those judgments as to what will people like to read. And I'm trying to create in such a fashion that even they can maintain a repertoire of it, so that any point in time they want to go back, they can read those. So to maintain a shelf life, I've started using some keywords, so that at any point in time they want to search for those judgments, they can just log in those keywords and they're able to get hold of it. Apart from that, we've created some Telegram groups, through which we are trying to keep in connect with our clients, because I think it's very important that you have to be on the top of your client's mind. It is always said that out of sight, out of mind. I know we cannot be in the sight physical sense, but of course we want to be on their mind. So believe you me, I think even I'm sure all of you must also be doing everywhere. We are also doing the committee of creditors meeting, because we're all insolvency professionals. We need to do these meetings. In the preliminary period of lockdown, that is the first phase of lockdown in India, we saw a strong resistance amongst the committee of creditors, that they would not like to join in through Zoom, etc., because of security issues. But by and large, now people have understood that this lockdown is probably here to get extended, and it could get extended after extension. So people have now made sure that the passwords, etc., are strong enough, and the security concerns are, I think, diminishing day by day. So we try to do these COC meetings. Very honestly, as an insolvency professional, I'm sure everybody is on the same page. We are really facing a huge task to take over the company, or to keep the company maintained as a going concern. That is where I'm using this time to understand the various industries. As a professional, I would probably have an understanding of, say, for example, the tire industry or the finance industry, or maybe the education industry. But this lockdown period, I'm trying to abreast myself with the couple of more industries that we normally see it in our economies. For example, textile industry, which probably we feel that would see quite a stress after this lockdown, etc. I've kind of pinpointed few industries on which I deep dive to understand how it works. For example, the renewable energy industry, how it works, how it functions. So I started reading a lot of these industry-specific cutouts, by which I am able to get a hang of the industry-specific issues.
Hey, Mamta, can I stop you for just a second? Because I think you're getting to our second topic here real quick. And let me back up for a second, because I kind of assume that everyone on this call knows who I am. So let me back up for just a second. And then let's get Isabel, Kristina, and Toni to tell us just who they are and where they are, and then we'll get back into the substance. So just to back up, I am Monica Blacker. I sit on the IWIRC board. I was the DFW chair, network chair for 2 years. I was a restructuring lawyer for 22 years, and about 3 years ago left practice to start a business focused on empowering women and minorities in the workplace. I know most of you, but if I don't know you, nice to meet you. I spend a lot of time speaking, coaching, and consulting with companies about diversity and inclusion issues. So these issues are near and dear to my heart. For those of you who I've worked with, I don't just talk about them, I actually live them and preach them and make sure that I hire women and minorities whenever I can, and do my very best to promote other women. So with that, we're going to put you on pause for just a second, and because I'm going to go in order of who's on my screen. Isabel, do you want to tell everyone where you're from, where you work, and what the lockdown situation is like in Brazil? We got to unmute. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So thank you, Monica. I'm very, very honored with the invitation to join this panel today. I'm actually more than honored. I think I'm happy, because it's very important to have a space strong like this to women to put ourselves out there now. And thank you. My name is Isabel Picot. I'm a partner at a firm in Brazil called Galdino and Coelho, Advogados. We are a boutique law firm specialized in dispute resolution and restructurings, insolvency and restructuring in Brazil. We've worked with restructuring for more than, we have now a law that has 15 years and a new law, bankruptcy law. It's not new, but since then we've been working a lot with restructurers in Brazil in both national and cross-border insolvency cases. And so this is like the worst moment to talk about Brazil with respect to COVID crisis. The numbers are increasing exponentially. Yesterday, we heard about 125,000 cases. The country is immense, as you know, and we had a kind of 8,000 deaths up to today, and we expect this number actually to be under notified. So probably we were ahead of the reported numbers that the government made. So we didn't have lockdown strict rules. We are quarantined probably, you've been in Brazil in the beginning of March. So I think the week next that week, we started to go to our homes, and those who are not providing essential work, they are working remotely and trying to get used to this new form of contacts. I personally didn't attend the WeWork conference that we had because I have diabetes, so I quarantined myself previously. But that's it, because we didn't took strict rules. The country is immense. It's a poor country. We are also facing a political crisis. So we expect things to get worse probably from now on. Have to take probably lockdown strict measures for the hugest, at least the capitals and huge cities in the country.
Yeah, I was in Brazil when President Trump actually shut the borders of the U.S. to Europe, and ended up leaving Brazil 2 days early because I was worried that Brazil, that South America was next. But I will say they were very not coronavirus worried at all. People were still doing the double cheek kiss. And I was like, wait, we're not even shaking hands.
Yes,
so
I was only me and my team were at home. I quarantined everybody before, and like I was watching the news, international news, and there is a big thing coming, and we need to protect ourselves. And like here you are today, probably waiting for things to get worse. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks, Isabel, for being here. Next, we have Kristina Kicks, who is here from London. Kristina, are you unmuted? There we go. I got you.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm really pleased also to be here. It's afternoon in England, so good morning, good evening, whichever time zone you're on. And so I'm Kristina. I'm a director in KPMG in London. I jointly lead the contentious insolvency and asset recovery team. So whilst I sit within restructuring, it's very much focused on asset tracing, investigations, complex personal and corporate cases, and recovering assets worldwide. So Brazil, I've come across US, all the jurisdictions where we're all from. So I work as a particularly great network for the type of work I do. So whilst I work in London, a lot of people that work in London, we actually commute. So I'm at the moment about over an hour away from London. So I've been working at home and quite thankful because I have a garden and live near a river. Some of my team, one of them is right near the office in Canary Wharf in London in a flat. So it's much harder. And I think it's a lot busier there, whereas our one-day exercise, I don't see many people where I live too much anyway, but in London, that's very difficult. So we're in week 7 of lockdown here, and we've had a lot of deaths. I think our figure is at over 30,000 now, and the government is coming under lots of pressure as to why we're the highest in Europe, to which their response is that we measure differently and are including lots more numbers. So, and it's too early to compare, so we'll see, but they are But it's a big weekend this weekend because at the moment Boris Johnson, and there's lots in the news about how they're going to start easing our lockdown. So we're all for ones looking. I think for office workers, it's going to be one of the last sort of freedom we have. We're thinking sort of months away of being able to be back in London because of the underground that everyone has to have and use to get to work. I have to use the Jubilee line, which is face to face on a normal day. So you just can't at the moment imagine what that will be like. But it will certainly be nice when the children can go back to school, because we're all homeschooling, like I'm sure many of you are, and trying to keep them occupied and not on their computers the whole time. So yeah, that's where we are in England.
All right, and that leaves Toni, last but not least, who I forgot to wish a happy birthday to the other day when we had our call, so sorry.
That's okay. I almost wore my call, but decided not to.
Oh, you should have.
Hi, everyone. Toni Vanderlaan. I'm from Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I'm currently the chair of the Ontario Network, and I work for FTI Consulting. I've been in restructuring for a very long time now, 20 years this March. So things here in Canada are very interesting, similar to everyone else. We have been in lockdown officially since March 17th. And when all non-essential businesses were closed, it happened very quickly. And our case numbers, while not as bad as some other countries, we're a very big country, and outside of the cities, there's lots of space for people to spread out. But some of the cities have been very hard hit, particularly Montreal. Quebec has our worst case numbers, is almost double any other province. And it's not on a per capita basis, it's even worse because their population we're the largest province in Ontario, and our cases are about half of what they have in Quebec. It's been a terrible situation in terms of our elder care facilities. It's actually been quite tragic, and it's revealed something very terrible about the way that we take care of our elderly in Canada, because the vast majority of our cases have struck either meat processing plants, which are generally in Canada staffed by low-paid immigrants, or our elder care facilities, which are also generally staffed by low-paid immigrants. So there's definitely a political reckoning to come for us as a country when all is said and done and we come through this. Certainly from the economic perspective, it has been it is going to be a very difficult thing for Canada. The vast majority of our businesses in Canada are small and medium businesses that employ 5 to 20 people, sometimes only 2 people. And most of those businesses have had to shut down. We are just coming into our phasing for starting to open up non-essential parts of the economy. For garden centers, for example, will be open on Friday, which will be exciting for everyone who has a space to put some flowers and bring a little, cheer into their world. But we've kind of had a mixed result. Some provinces have done very well, and their people have been very good about following the instructions and keeping away from other people, and they've kept their numbers down. Ontario, not so good. Quebec, not so good. But interestingly, and perhaps, similar to some of the things we're seeing in the US, Quebec, although its numbers are some of the worst, is one of the first provinces that's planning to reopen. So that will be a very interesting state of experiment from just a political economic perspective to see how things go in the province of Quebec.
I think Texas is doing the same thing. We have some of the highest cases.
Some of the highest numbers, and and they're sending their kids back to school next week. I'm like, okay.
We're not doing that.
I don't know if I want my kids back.
Since we're already 25 minutes into this presentation, I'm going to try to get us on to talking about the topics, because I think we could talk about probably what it's like for COVID in every one of our homes. So first of all, there's a lot of people on here. If you want to, we want this to be interactive as much as we can, which is a little bit hard with the 35 participants. But if you want to speak or you have something to add, please do. The 5 of us don't claim to be experts here. We just have some ideas that we wanted to share, and we'd love to hear what everyone else is doing. But we're going to start with kind of what you're doing right now to get in front of your clients, get in front of your colleagues. I know a lot of people are doing Zoom happy hours. I'm going to throw mine out there. It is way more fun and less substantive than Mamta's doing. She is apparently like on it. I am doing, I like wine. For those of you who know me, I really like champagne. And what I have done is send out tasting packs to groups of women. And then we have a weekly wine tasting. Ours is typically Thursday nights at 5:30. And we typically watch this Facebook Live from the winery where they're doing the tasting, but about 7 minutes in, we're no longer paying attention to them and we just drop that part. But it's just a way to get together and do something fun. Like I sent all the wine packs to the clients as the gift, and then we have this time every week to get together. We actually went through our first tasting, which was Picot, and we realized we were out of wines, and so we ordered another tasting from another winery so that we could keep it going. So mine is a little more fluffy and fun, but Toni, I'm gonna pick on you first because you went last. What are you doing to be in front of your clients?
So the first thing I did was make a list. I just made a list of everybody that I wanted to keep in touch with, people that I had worked with recently, people that we had been talking about working together. And then I started making a lot of Zoom calls and some wine with Zoom calls, happy hours, but mainly it was setting up just calls to connect, calls to talk. And the first thing that I figured out was that some people really want to talk about the politics and the economics and what's going on. And some people do not want to talk about those things at all. They don't want to talk about the technical aspects or the, you know. So I started dividing people into different, if I was having a group call, people that would be happy to talk politics and talk economics and talk about, you know, work, and other people that needed a bit of a reprieve, because I think everybody's feeling a lot of pressure right now. I am, you know, 2 kids at homeschool and, you know, trying to keep up with new files and chasing leads and making sure I'm talking to everybody. So I divided people into different categories, and then the people that like the politics, I'll send them articles, or did you see this, you know, what's happening in Germany, blah, 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 or what's happening with the CARES Act. I think you need to be careful with the emails. I don't know what it's like for everyone else, but we're a small country population wise. We have maybe 20 large firms, law firms, and every single one of them sends me a COVID update every single day. My inbox is like, so we've not sent any COVID related updates from a financial advisor perspective. We've kept it all to personal emails and discussions. And then the other thing is that I found that has been really, really important is setting up personal calls. So the group of people that I work with, everybody, you would be amazed at how many people are experiencing stressful or difficult times in self-isolation with their partner, or, you know, some people's marital situation is not the best that it could be. And setting aside those evening calls after the kids have gone to bed for, you know, where it's just a small group of us and you just get a chance to sort of vent out how you're feeling and know that there's somebody there that, you know, wants to jump in and take care of you and would give you a hug if she could, I think it's actually brought me closer to some of my legal friends that, one, I didn't know they were having marital problems at all, and 2, it's given us something to bond over that isn't the fact that we're sitting at home complaining about our children. We're complaining about husbands, but whatever. So, but
Kristina, how about you? Oh, sorry, Toni.
Yeah, I think the important is to understand what other people are looking for out of those interactions.
How about you, Kristina? What are you doing?
Yeah, I think it's changed since the initial shock of the situation, actually. I remember having an IWIRC London committee call right at the beginning, and you could just tell by everyone was in shock. So I think it's to start with, it was being sensitive to that situation. And very much as Toni said, the amount of emails you could get and actual internal communications as well as external for those first few weeks. So it was being sensitive to that. And actually I was reaching out at that point to my closer contacts, who I have good relationships with, and just wanted obviously to make sure that they were okay personally and everything. And then post Easter, there seems to have been a turn in terms of this is more the new normal for everyone. And I think how we're in the insolvency world, there's lots of calls with clients and lots of the phones ringing, but actually we see this period as a calm before the storm. There are some big insolvency happening, but because the government's providing so much support, it's almost a hiatus. So actually by contacting clients that you either know or were hoping to get to know by email, and then the personal calls, they've received so well, and everyone seems to want to talk. So I think this is an opportune time at the moment before we get so busy, which is expected, to really reach out both to your current contacts and new external contacts, and also widen the internal network as well, is what I've been focusing on. And then
that's such a great point, because I often say in one of my business development speeches that people do business with people they like and trust. Like, that's really the magic sauce. And so this is the opportunity to build those relationships so that when there is a lot of work to come, or when they're so busy, that you have had this time to solidify your relationship, like Toni said, or Kristina both. You know, now you know them on a personal level, that kind of makes that relationship even stronger. So, you know, if you can't be meeting, and maybe you can't be talking about work because where they are, there isn't anything going on, this is the opportunity to do that. And while I'm talking, if someone else wants to talk or has something to add, please, again, we would like this to be interactive as much as possible. I don't have it because I think I'm the host, but you should have like a raise your hand across the bottom of your screen, or you can get on the chat and chat your questions to me, or say, hey, call on me, and I can make that happen. All right, so Isabel, what have you been doing?
It's quite similar. I think the structure of this moment invites us to conversations, and mostly one-to-one conversations. That's my feeling, that people are experiencing different levels of fears, loneliness, and there is a kind of pandemic permission for you to build up intimacy. That's the feeling that I have with the person that I keep usually in touch, which is something very cultural in Latin America, to have this more close relationship to your clients and have intimacy and build relationship and friendship out of this contact. So this is something that we are used to, but I think that now, because people they're not isolated, I think social isolation it's an expression that does not reflect what we are living, because we are full of online presence, probably much more than we had before. But we are missing a lot of things in our lives. So I think the moment invites us to have this kind of conversations. And this is what I tried to do from the very beginning. One of my clients is here, Fernanda. I remember that I called her. She was not quarantined, and what is happening. Like in the very beginning, the clients didn't know what is happening, what could happen, what they are going to need from us. So as the things progressed, I reached out to the clients and I asked, what do you need and how can we help you? I think those are the two quick key questions that we made. And the first reaction that we received to the pandemic was from the clients, that the companies that were under some sort of restructuring, court restructuring, out of court restructurings. They are more in a critical, I think, financial situation. And then the pandemic came. They felt it very quickly. And we asked them, what's your wish list? What do you need now? Do you need to build up your, like, to keep a strong, try to keep a strong cash flow? And what do we have now in the legal framework in Brazil to allow you to overcome the crisis? And then a lot of information and discussions in Brazil started to develop. We have a bill today waiting for being enacted, a recommendation from the National Council. We start to think about solutions around this new legal framework that are designed to address specific issues of this moment, and work very closely with the clients, what kind of solutions we can offer now to them, to work with them. So for these clients that are suffering more, we have a kind of daily conversations, and sometimes it's a personal conversation, sometimes it's just professional conversations. And for those who are still, they have strong cash balance, they're not feeling the crisis, just call. How are you? I miss you. I miss meeting with you. And I think that in the future, we'll probably have much more one-to-one meetings and conversations than that large meetings, which is good because it's how you create intimacy. It's when you have a one-to-one coffee. And we are trying to do this. It's genuinely, actually, we like this person. That's what you said. It's totally true. So when you like this person, you reach out to them very easily. And we are massive users in Brazil of WhatsApp and Instagram. So this kind of tools, they are very helpful in this situation. So we have lots of women now, WhatsApp groups being created for women to gather there and to discuss, to create their own forum of discussions. And this is something that I noticed that happened during this pandemic. And we are being that they're open to us to use it, and we are using it very well. The clients are reaching out to us, and we are doing the same. So it's not social isolation, not at all, actually. And I think that when we'll be back, we'll be more probably closer to them than we are today.
Fernanda Wolf, were you just waving, or were you raising your hand?
Just waving. I was
Okay.
just waving and agreeing with Isabel.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak if you meant to speak. Yep. Okay, Mamta, I think you kind of told us earlier what you had been doing, but if you want to add anything, jump on in, and then I'm going to ask the group if anyone. So think, this is your warning. Think that if you have something that you've been doing that you want to share with the group, we're going to open it up here in just a second.
Yeah, sure. Let me tell you the story of India a little bit. This country is reeling under, as we're all reeling under, a lot of pressure. But the industrialists and businessmen, who either use this law to get out of the frustration, because this law is not adversarial in nature. Insolvency and the bankruptcy code is more so used for reorganization and restructuring. In this country, people are very fearful at the moment because we don't know what kind of tax laws may just, the government may just pump in, because we are seeing recently that how the Indian government has racked up the taxes on diesel and petrol. The crude oil, it's become so expensive all of a sudden. So the businessmen are very fearful of doing any planning at this stage. So when we reach out to our clients, we feel that they are so closed in their mind to take any calls. They just tell us that we just need to wait and watch as to how the government is going to react once the lockdown actually really opens up and we don't see numbers getting added up to the fatality rate, etc., etc. So in this period, I have also felt, and it's a very odd thing that I'm going to tell you, that people are not really very keen to take the calls at this point in time, because one person is probably getting hi hello calls from several people, because everybody is reaching out to everyone. So it's like a one person is maybe receiving 10 to 15 calls a day. Hi, how are you? What's up? You know, what do you need in our business? So we felt that probably the best way to reach out is to be quietly there in their inbox, be it on their email or be it by Telegram or be it by WhatsApp. So in India, the culture that's now picking up, which is very strange, because India is a country where people always believe in picking up the phone and speaking. But of late, I've felt that this is a strange change in culture that I'm finding. Very interestingly, I think our country is today getting bombarded with these Zoom calls, you know, not only happy hours, but even otherwise. So if you really see that on a particular topic, you may be having 2,000 such calls every day basis. So people are now getting bombarded with so much information. It's like, you know, you're getting so much, you don't know what to keep, what is right, what is wrong, and what to just throw away. People are now spoiled for choice. So as an insolvency professional, we are treading our path very, very carefully as to just tell them what in the right quantum and, you know, in the right degree as to what needs to be told to them. And what I have specifically observed is the businessmen are very keen to know about their sector. If anything, they come to know about what's happening in their sector. For example, logistics. They're very keen to know what's happening in the logistics sector. Maybe they're not able to capture everything and anything that's happening in the space. So as a professional, I'm trying hard. You know, I've pointed out few, as I was mentioning, few industries for me, and I'm working on those verticals. So as to make sure that by the time this lockdown version 3 opens and the, you know, economy opens up, I may be called as a specialist in those 5 or 6 sectors. So I'm working very hard on that. And I'll just leave everybody with a thought. I'm also trying to mentor young people, because what happens is now manpower is becoming increasingly, you know, expensive, which it was always been. But I think this lockdown is also proving to a fact that manpower is now going to become a little more expensive. Though in fact, people are mentioning that it will become cheaper because, you know, the demand is the supply will go up. A lot of people will be left out of their jobs. But I think the pretty good ones will be still expensive. So what I am trying to do is I'm trying to create a young battalion. You know, I'm taking kind of tuitions, if I just use that word. I'm doing a mentoring session every day, which is free of charge and not taking any money. And I'm teaching them the insolvency law, the regulations and the rules. Whosoever, you know, are interested have taken up a package so that I make sure that they are dedicated people. So I'm doing those mentoring sessions every day. And at the end of it, I'll try to retain, you know, maximum of them. I'll pick and choose and maybe place some of them outside. So I'm just trying to get a social angle to the whole thing. And I'm really enjoying that quite a lot.
I love the use of the word battalion, by the way. Like, I'm going to take that. We should all have a battalion of women behind us and in front of us, for sure. Does anyone want to? Oh, yep.
Sorry, I just missed saying that I also belong to the IWIRC India chapter. I should have said that in the beginning, but I'm very happy to be there. And I'm grateful to you and Pooja Sinha. I don't know whether she's there in or not, but Pooja Sinha, who's handling India and also Asia Pacific, I guess. I'm very grateful to her to have been given this opportunity.
So does anyone else on the call want to say what they've been doing or what someone has done for them that they thought was effective in this difficult time?
Hi, Monica.
I think you can unmute yourself if you want to.
Can you hear me, Monica?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. This is Pooja from Singapore. Thanks for that shout out, Mamta. But as anybody who's heard Mamta on this call will know by now, she's a powerhouse lady unto herself, so needs no support at all. But I just wanted to pick up on something that Mamta said, which is that, perhaps this is a bit of a cultural thing, or perhaps just a personal thing, but I found it a little bit more challenging to have these sort of personal, hi, how are you doing kind of conversations. So I felt more comfortable with having, a business related lead in to those conversations. But that's also very challenging in itself because, your content has to be differentiated, whether it's, an email or whether it's a webinar. Everybody's sort of heard about COVID regs, in their country. It's been sort of done to death. Work from home tips, I think, has also been done to death. So I think that's kind of required a lot of, creativity, just sort of thinking about, even if it's a COVID related topic, at least a different spin on it for that particular local audience. So I think that's certainly been, a hard work from my perspective.
Great, thank you, Pooja. Isabel, go for it.
Just to comment in this point, I read an expression coined by McKinsey. They said that it's the great unfreezing, because companies are actually acting very quickly because they have to develop new solutions for the new problems. So I certainly think that this is a time for a huge preparation, because we will be required to give tailored solutions to problems that they are distressed problems in the end of the day, but it's new because it's a new environment. So they requires a new approach. for sure, we'll have to create and be innovative, be creative, and offer different solutions for the clients. And this is something that I am personally experienced from the contact with my clients. Each of them has a different need. It's always like this, but now you have to think very quickly in a different environment with different tools, because everything is digital. You cannot go to the court. You cannot, like in Brazil, we have expert conversations with the judge. I know that it's something that doesn't happen in different other jurisdictions in the United States, for example. So we went to the court, we talked with the judge 1 hour, and we don't have it available anymore. So it's a different environment. For sure, we will have to be very, very creative in this great unfreezing moment where the companies are having to have a new structure for their business as well, which is good. Like, it's transformation. We will be able to develop new models, hopefully better than the previous one.
So Isabel, that's a great. Oh yeah, sure, Michelle, go for it.
I just have one other comment. So in the thoughts of the things and the topics to discuss, I think this forum at IWIRC, where we've been able to get, like, even on this call, when you think of the number of countries actually represented on this call, it's very high with the numbers. And so I've had lots of conversations with people about what I'm learning from the IWIRC calls, what I'm learning about the different experiences, whether it's Singapore, Japan, Hong Kong, Spain, like, which not everybody has access to that data or those experiences. So it is a bit of it is something new that not everybody would have access to. So I would encourage you to kind of think about, if you're coming to these sessions, what you're actually learning from these sessions, because not everybody is getting that kind of rich, real hand experience, because what Mamta is telling us from India may not be what we read in the news. So she's giving us a much different flavor, and we can actually, that's of interest to other people because they're not getting that anywhere else.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I'll give a plug for the one we're doing this evening as well. I mean, we're doing another panel this evening where we have Canada, Hong Kong, the Caymans, and Brazil represented. So a little bit of different. I don't think there's any limitation to registering for both. If you are so inclined and want to hear some other perspectives, feel free to come back later today. Like I said, I will have something other than coffee in my coffee cup then. But I think Isabel's point was a good transition into kind of our second topic, which was what can you be doing right now to get yourself situated for whatever the new normal is, because it is going to be different. I think that's the one thing that we can all agree on, is that it won't be like it was before. And, you know, one of the things I've been doing, just because I know when things open back up and it becomes clear that a lot of these businesses are not going to survive, like the ones that are maybe holding on in hopes, but then when people aren't doing as much business travel, and the hotels and the airlines and the restaurants, or just people aren't comfortable doing those things, what happens? So for me, May is my birthday month, which means that my CLE credits are due at this month. You know, there's a gazillion free continuing legal, and I would guess continuing like CPE as well right now related to COVID and other things. I've been trying to do as many of those as I can when I have time, when I have a little downtime, just to bank all that up, knowing that probably in the fall we'll all be extremely busy, and you know, those things fall by the wayside. Does anyone on the panel here want to talk about what they're doing to get ready for the new normal? Or anyone on the call?
I was going to mention, I think the way that now the communications are so virtual, I think actually the new normal, even post-vaccine or this situation in the future, and there'll be a lot more virtual catch-ups anyway. So in London, if you're meeting someone, you're in East London and you need to meet someone for coffee in West London, that's a long travel. So I don't think it would completely take away obviously the value of meeting people in person, but some good contacts who you may have seen 3 times a year, 4 times a year, you might only see them in person twice a year now, and then 2 virtuals, I think. So at the moment, it's really showing to all my contacts and who are involved that how comfortable I am with the virtual way, and to save time for everyone, because we're all busy people and likely to get busier. So actually, if this works and there's a positive that can come out of this terrible situation, then try to sort of take that on board.
Isabel, yes.
We've discussed with the clients, we are internally in the office discussing the business as well, how we are going to rethink the model of the law firm. If we have to resize, for example, the workplace, we don't need probably, we will institutionalize the home office from now on. And maybe we will move out from where we are today, because we expect that the courts are going to come back to work physically only next year. So we don't need to be close to the court anymore. We can move out to a different place close to the clients to get this one-to-one meetings, and maybe take the opportunity to rebrand, to reimagine the workplace at something less conservative than we had before. So this is one of the thoughts that we are having with respect to the business itself. We are trying to take care of the teams. I think there is a wellness to take care now. Everyone is facing their own difficulties. So to try to get in touch with the team while you're away, while you're not getting physical contact with them, to have them like well emotionally prepare for what's coming, because we expect a lot of work and sadness as well, because it's like people are going to suffer either like the health standpoint or the companies, they're not going to survive. And like lots of reading and preparation. It's uncertain time, so we don't know what's coming, what's the new, like no one has this precisely answer. Probably China is close to what we can look and expect, because they are 3 months ahead from us. I've reading a lot about China, how like things are working now, if people are allowed to go to the gym, if they can, how long they can stay in a restaurant, what digital and technology are being developed to control the disease, and try to understand what they are doing there, because probably it's what we are going to do at this side of the planet in 3 months' time. But I think we don't know the new normal yet. We have guesses. So we are still in the stage of reading and having conversations to gather the most information as possible to try to create what's going to be the path forward from now on.
I think it will be a very interesting thing to watch unfold, because I don't think it will happen the same in every country because of cultural differences and business expectations, but that whole idea of a commercial center where everybody comes to a downtown core and everybody, you know, we stack up in these huge vertical office towers and our open cubicles and everything. I think that will be a very interesting part of watching the transformation as we come out of this. And I think a lot of commercial realtors or commercial landlords or whatever are going to struggle as businesses make that decision to say, I don't need to be in the downtown core anymore. I don't need to have this much office space. In Toronto, it'll be particularly interesting because our commercial rates were going through the roof, and there was like our vacancy rate was less than 1%. So, but a lot of people are going through that exact same discussion that Isabel's firm is going through, is like, do we need to be here? Do we need to be right in the center of everything? Do we want to have all of our employees coming to work on public transit, right, to the downtown core?
It's going to be a disruption so many ways around. Like when I look at home, you know, I agree with Toni. We're going to see, I know from PwC's perspective, we're in one of those towers and how we're managing the process of going back. And there's no way we're all going back at the same time. It's going to be, you know, it's going to be the next year with a portion of us working at home. But as more of us work at home, when you think of the bandwidth and like what you have at home versus what you have in the office, and more of these Zoom calls, because I know now I'll be happy when everybody gets out of the house and the kids get back to school, because right now you have 6 people drawing on the internet, and you know, right. So it's a difference, right? There's lots of differences that are going to be, you're going to see home electricity bills go up when we go back. If we keep this up long term, there's going to be a displacement and just a transition and a movement to different places as we do this. But I agree that, you know, people are absolutely rethinking this work from home as they've seen. Like this has been a giant pilot project in so many things that we've wanted to know. Can people be productive at home? Can you get the same? I probably work too much at home and probably want to be back in the office to actually have some physical distancing. But so it'll be, I think we'll see tons of change. So
yeah, one of my corporate clients that I work on the diversity inclusion, a public company, you know, that's been one of the biggest fights that we were having before all of this, was their belief that work from home doesn't work, right? Which I think most of us would agree is most detrimental to women in the workforce, because a lot of them take on other responsibilities, and so not having flexibility hurts them the most. And it was one of the things we've been talking about, you know, how do we get a better diverse workforce and without that. So I haven't had the opportunity, because of course they're super busy with other things, and this falls to the bottom of the list right now, but to talk to them about how has this actually worked when it's been required, right? I hope, my fingers are crossed, is that they realize actually it works fine. I think especially like from Toni and Michelle with the consultant life, I mean, I talked to Carrie Ann Basler, our former president, probably every couple days. And, you know, she lived the consultant lifestyle, never home, always out at the client site, and just kind of how this experience has really shown her that, you know, there's a lot of things that we claim we have to be at the clients to do that maybe we don't actually, because we're still getting those things done. so, you know, whether the consultant world goes back to a, you know, Sunday to Thursday on the road, or I'm not sure that life comes back. So it's been really interesting to see, like you said, this as a pilot project. Well, we're at our hour. Mamta, I'll let you speak here just a second, and then I'm gonna let Toni close us out because she has a statement about what we should be doing for each other during this time that I think is actually a great way to end. So Mamta, go ahead, and then Toni, I'm gonna leave it to you.
Yeah, just to give support to what everybody was speaking, in India, we saw that the women folk, you know, there is that women group who has already broken the glass ceiling and have gone into great heights. We are not talking about that strata. The strata which belonged to, you know, which were just had entered the pipeline of work, and somewhere or the other, because of the, you know, motherhood or because of joint family structure. In India, you know how things are. All of us really look at it on the television also. So a lot of these women folk never used to get work because some point in time they had this huge deterrence that they can't leave home, or even if they can leave home, it will be from morning 11 o'clock to 4 o'clock when the children go to school, or when then everybody's sleeping and there's no kitchen work, etc. They could afford to go to work. That women's strata really had not much takers in the society. Everybody felt, how is it that you can get them employed? Because at home, probably they would be on Facebook, they would be on Google, giggling all the time. How do you really measure the productivity and the work that they are doing? Believe you me, now in India, what I have seen for the past 1.5 months, people have actually hired technology consultants and said that give me a dashboard, give me a way of measuring the productivity of people. Because now commercial establishments will become so expensive. I don't want to expand my office space. Why can't I hire those women, you know, for the jobs that fits them well, and I pay them less because that adds to my profitability margin, because anyway profit margins are becoming wafer thin day after day. So now these people have really become conscious out of the fact that they want to earn profits, because profits are just getting thinner day by day. So with that concept in mind, I'm seeing a huge rush towards hiring these young women. I think for women folk, I am not saying that we should be deriving a blessing out of this COVID-19. Nobody can. The limited point that I'm trying to make is that somehow or the other, this is going to be quite a see-through to that hidden talent pool that was lying in women who were being at home. Now people are very much rushing to engage them in some manner or the other, because productivity measuring is no more a challenge.
All right, Toni, why don't you close us out with your, I don't want to call it your soapbox, but I love the theory behind this. And so I'm going to let you close us out.
Okay, so I think one of the things that has really struck me, and all of us are very fortunate to work in a counter-cyclical industry, and we have a job still, and we're not, you know, maybe struggling as much as other women are. But I was reading through some history, and, you know, because everything gets referred back to what's happened in history. And the one thing that struck me over and over and over again in the articles that I was reading is how pandemics such as this have the most significant impact on women. When they shut down non-essential services, it's usually women who lose their job. When everybody's stuck at home, it's usually women who have to do the majority of all of the childcare, the elder care, all that sort of thing. This isn't anything we haven't all heard before, but the thing that I wanted to sort of impart to all of you is, even amongst our group, where it's so important for us to continue to pull in work and to service our clients and to, you know, always be rising to the top, many of us will also have these additional challenges, and sometimes that can feel like an awful lot, and we're all constantly moving the bar in terms of the balance. Sometimes we're constantly focused on work, sometimes we're constantly focused on the kids or our husbands or our parents, whatever the situation might be. But really the message that came out of this was, we have to keep referring work to women. We have to keep that cycle of, when we're sending work around, that we're thinking about who's the woman in the office that I can send this work to. And even if, you know, in my firm in particular, I'm one of 6 partners, the other 5 are all men. And when we start talking about who we're going to refer work to, a whole long list of men comes up. And I'm always like, well, what about so-and-so? And the thing that I have learned from talking to other people at the firm is it really, really matters who that referral goes into, right? And you can have more than one name on the list, and then they can, you know, they can figure out with whatever their internal policies are about who gets that credit. But if your name's not on the first inbound, you're not going to get credit for it. So you really, like, when you're, to the extent you can, refer your business directly to women. To the extent that you're, you know, working with your partners and you have to, you know, maybe the lead guy or the lead person at the firm that you want to hire is a man. But think about, like, it doesn't have to be another partner. It can be a junior woman. Just think about ways to put women's name on the list and make sure that you're referring the work, because it really, really does matter. And if we can all do a little something to build all the other women in the community, we'll have a very tremendous battalion when all of this sort of settles down and we all go back to work in a more normal sense. But the women won't get left behind. Even those of us who are still working and crazy busy and, you know, have things going on, just always please think, if you can, is there a woman at that shop that I could refer this to at this, even if it has to be in, you know, contemporaneously with referring the work to a man at that shop. That's my soapbox.
That's right, ladies. Let's remember the world is not a pie. There are not only 8 pieces. We all have to believe that higher tides rise all boats. And so we have to make sure that we're helping each other. So with that, we'll give you back your day. Come back tonight if you want to hear some different perspectives. Sherry, as always, thanks for corralling all of us. And I appreciate the opportunity. Have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Monica. Thanks,
you.
Sherry. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Mama.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We'll be in touch. Bye. Bye. Thank you, Monica, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Yep. Thank you, Mama.